So, every time your eyes see a tangent and a radius, what do I want you to think? Immediately. What do I want you to think? What's the relationship? Perpendicular. So perpendicular means they form right angles. So what this is going to produce is this is going to produce Pythagorean theorem problems, which you all did exceptionally well on that quiz. And that's why we reviewed the Pythagorean theorem on that one day. All finished? Anything, if anybody's absent, you can put them back in. All right, so we saw that. So now let's start going through. Oh, you can put that back in the red folder. All right, so let's do one more thing. This is something you need to know. If you have your that spreadsheet of geometry terms, get it out. You learned this in middle school. Sum of the angles of a triangle is what? Sum of the angles in a triangle is what? 180. Excellent. All right. So, if you have your sum of geometric terms out, in the box on the left, I want you to write this. On the box in the center, I want you to write this. And then on the third box over, if this is x and this is 40 and this is 60, how can you find x? Add 40 plus 60 plus x. Let's add them all three and set them equal to what? 180. So you're going to have 100 plus x equals 180. X is equal to what? 80. Okay? This is prerequisite knowledge that you're going to be using on this section. If you have your spreadsheet, does anybody have it? Am I wasting my time? Okay, good. So if you have that, then I want you to write in the left box, let's see, radius intersects tangent, and that's on the circle. In this box, I want you to say think perpendicular. This is its relationship. After this, they will never give you that box. You have to know it. So over here, I suggest you draw a radius and you draw a tangent and you put in a little box so that when you see this, you have to think perpendicular. I can't even begin how wonderful this is going to be to prepare for your midterm and your EOC. So you should be, those blue sheets you got back should be going back in the investigation section of your notebook. Anything in the pockets of your notebook or in the pockets of any folders in your notebook should be put back into its appropriate place. Test and assessment, quizzes and assessment. You should put homework where homework belongs. Any questions? Hint, hint. All right. So now, if we look at this, do you see a radius and do you see a tangent touching on the circle? What is this angle? Okay, if that angle has a box and that angle is an x and that angle is 40, what equation do you write? Okay, I'm going to go ahead and do 90 plus 40 plus x equals 180. Where did MJ get 130? where he added 90 and 40. Plus x equals 180, so what does x equal? 50. All right, so let's talk about partial credit on a test or an assessment. If you do 180 minus 130, am I going to understand that, let's say you made a mistake and made that 140. Am I going to really understand what you did versus if you had said 90 plus 40 plus x equals 180? Does this show me concept? Yes, this shows me concept more than this, especially if you mess something up. So here I can give you the lion's share of the credit and take off a point for simple addition mistake. You with me? Whereas if you don't choose to do that, then I'm not going to be able to give you as much partial credit because I don't know where that 140 came from. Just food for thought. All right, so let's go over here. We have a radius, we have a tangent. What should you think? Radius, perpendicular. All right, do I know this angle? No. And I already have plenty of x's. What do you think our expression should be this time? You don't know what this is.
2x.
How do you know you don't know that's x? That could be 1/3 x, that could be 1/2 x. We don't know what that is. But do we know? What do we know? That this angle is 4x plus 3 and this angle is also what? It's also what? 90 degrees. In other words, 4x plus 3 equals 90. Notice over here, there was no variable here. And we used 90 as 90. But here we have a variable expression, which means this must equal that. I can't do what I did here because I don't know that angle. Why was the x there? What was the purpose of that x? To confuse you. So now what is x going to be? How do you disconnect those?
87 divided by 4.
87 divided by 4. That's efficient. Okay, so I want you to pay attention to the difference between this problem and this problem. Notice all of these are what? Angles. Where these are what? Those are not angles anymore. What are those? They're segments. All right. You see a radius. You see a tangent touching on the circle. What does that mean this is? 90 degrees. What type of triangle is that? A right triangle because it has a 90-degree angle. What do you think we're going to do to find x this time since we don't have angles? You do know. Everybody in here did really well on that quiz. All right, there's lots and lots and lots of Pythagorean theorem in what we're the rest of this semester. All right, so Pythagorean theorem, if you remember, is legs squared plus legs squared equals the hypotenuse squared. What are the legs? The ones that are attached to this right angle being, what are those specifically then? 3 squared does 12 touch that right angle? No. 3 touches the right angle, and what else? X. So it's going to be 3 squared plus x squared is equal to 12 squared. So this is going to be 9. 12 squared is 144. Now what do you do? So you're going to get 135. How do we undo a square? Square root this side. You square root this side. How many answers do we get when we square root? And why do I want to see this? Algebra 2. That is worth 1 point on any assessment or quiz. Then you get your handy dandy calculators out and you do the square root of 135. What is the square root of 135? 9? It's 11 point something. Okay, so notice x is inside, it's not on the side. Do you see a radius and a tangent touching on the circle? What is this relationship? 90. That is the most important piece you take away from this section. If this is 150, what must this be? How do you know this is 30? How do you know they're supplementary? It's a straight line. Minus 150 is 30. All right. Can you write an equation now with those three angles? What would it be? 90 plus 30 plus x is what? Okay, this shows me concept. So if you make a careless mistake here, I know it's careless and it's not concept. There's an equals here. How do I disconnect? Subtract 120. I don't know if you've noticed how much your equation solving skills have improved since the beginning of the year. I've seen a lot of growth in you all. A lot of growth. Common Core, Florida State Standards, takes us beyond knowledge level and they expect you to apply. And so we are taking that theorem that we learned and we're applying it using segments and angles. All right, so if we look at this, what do we know about this angle? It's a right angle. What do we know about this angle? It is a right angle. All right, what do you know about the sum of the measures of a four-sided figure? Anybody know? Let's look at a four-sided figure. If I have a four-sided figure, what is it made up of? If I draw this line in, two triangles. What's the sum of these angles? 180. What's the sum of these angles? So what's the sum of all the angles? Okay, so I think you should write this in your notes. This we would have had if we were going in the order of the book, and I apologize for that. That's the county's doing, not any of the geometry teachers, by the way. All right, so the sum of the angles of a four-sided figure. Anybody know what the sophisticated word is for that is? Quadrilateral. Quad meaning? Right, if you have quad stereo, you have four speakers. Is how much? 360. So if you're doing your spreadsheet, then I would put this part in one box, this part in the center box, and I would put that picture on the right so that you understand why it's 360. So now face the front, sir. How am I going to find the sum of, how am I going to find x in this picture? What will my equation be? 90 plus 60 plus x plus, we did this one, we did this one, we did this one, what else? 90 is equal to, okay, so 90 and 90 is 180, plus 60 is going to be 240 plus x is equal to 360. Does this show me that you understand concept? So x is going to equal minus 240, I believe minus 240. I believe that is 120 degrees. So you've got a problem like this on your homework, I am sure, or I wouldn't have put it in here. You've got Pythagorean problems on your homework. You've got angle problems where the sum of the angles of a triangle. All of those are the different types of problems on your homework. But we had another investigation. What was your other investigation? That was the really quick one. What did you learn about tangent segments? Okay, so let's look at this again, all right? The measure of angle A plus B plus C plus D is how much? 360. So this is just like the problem we just did. What is this angle? 90. What is this angle? 90. How do you find x? 90 plus 90 plus 120 plus x equals 360. That's going to be 180 and 120, 0 is 10, is 300 plus x is equal to 360. So what is x? 60. Again, this shows me concept. This is where the lion's share of the points will be. And then if you make a careless error, it'd be -1 instead of minus most of them. Okay, now that's given you some degrees. All right, I've taken away those degrees here. Is that going to be an issue? What is this angle? 90. What is this angle? 90. So what equation would you write? 90 plus 90 plus 8x plus 2x is equal to 360. Okay, so 90 and 90 is? 2x and 8x is? And what happens when you subtract 180 from 360? You get 180, and then you divide by 10. What is x? All right, and that is great, but make sure you answer the question. What did they ask you for? So that's going to be 2 times the x, which is, or 36 degrees. So I haven't written this test, all right? So if I really like to write it as I'm thinking and teaching, because I think I do a better test. So I guarantee that we will have a problem like these, all right? Then we're going to have an angle one with a triangle, and we're going to have a Pythagorean theorem one. Okay? We could do a quiz on that. I don't think I'd do that tomorrow because we'll go over it tomorrow. So maybe after break if you bring it back. All right. So the next thing you learned, all right. AB is tangent to circle C, so what is this? That is 90. And I am not going to have you go quadratic. Okay, I'm not going there. All right, so here's our tangent segments. Tangent segments to a circle from a point outside a circle are what? What did you discover? What's the relationship? AB to BC. They are equal, or what's another fancy word? Congruent. So it is this statement, and it's the one that we had at the very beginning, that is going to drive everything you do in this homework. AB and BC are tangent to the circle, which means that segment equals that segment. You see algebra coming? You all did so well with the algebra in the beginning of the year, as far as you were really getting good at that. Remember all the parallel and perpendicular lines and all those equations you wrote? Solving for x, midpoint. So there's 2 things in this section. Radius, tangent, intersect on circle, 90 degrees. 2 tangents that start from a point outside the circle and are tangent to the circle are congruent. So here we go. If they tell you this is 11, first of all, tangent, tangent. If this is 11 and this is x, what do you know? X is equal to 11. That's as basic of the concept as I can give you. Okay. Now they're telling you that CD and AD are tangent to circle B. So we know that this is 8. We know this is x. What is this? X. And I'm not sure how we're going to find. Find CD. I think I needed to give you more information. I have not given you enough information. So what if I told you that BD is equal to 10? So BD is 10. How are you going to find x? What do you know about this relationship? 90. What do you think you're going to use? I heard it. Pythagorean theorem. Do you see 8's a leg? X is a leg, and we've got 10. So we'll say 8. Be on the lookout for Pythagorean theorem. Why can't we do sum to 180? Why can't we do sum to 180? Well, are they angles or are they sides? They're sides. When we sum to 180, what do they have to be? Angles. So we've got 64 plus x squared equals 100. Now what? So x squared equals 36. Now what? When you square root, what do I need to see? A positive and negative. And then which one do you choose? The positive. So I've got AD to be 6. What did you have to know to get CD? That it's the same thing as what? AD. So CD is also 6. All right. OJ and OY are tangent to circle R. What is their relationship? They are equal. So what equation do you write? 4x plus 9 equals 6x minus 13, and then you solve. Once you get x, what do you have to do? Right, you'd substitute it there. I want to look at this one. I can come back. All right, now, SD, AD, and SA are tangent to circle P. I want the perimeter of that triangle. What does perimeter mean? Say that again. The distance all the way around. All right. How many different sets of tangent segments are there? Okay. So let's start right here at D. What is DG? How do you know? Because this segment is equal to this segment. Let's go to A. Are there tangent segments coming from A? So AG is 3. Okay, so now let me mark these. That was congruent to that. Okay, so now let's go to S. What are those tangent segments? SH and SJ, so what's SJ? 8. So this segment is congruent to this segment. So if you want the perimeter, how do we find perimeter? So we're going to say 8 plus 8 plus 12 plus 12 plus is equal to the perimeter. So you've got 16 plus 24 plus 9, or 24, 34, how about 49? So this is the tangent segment how many times? Did I do that wrong? Oh. Okay. That is 6, because I can't add, which gives you 46. Thank you, Brittany. Was that hard or easy? Easy? All right. So there were, you try. So let's go back and let me finish this one. How do we finish this one? Subtract 4x from both sides. So we got 9 is equal to 2x minus 13. Then what? Add 13. So now we're going to have 22 is equal to 2x. Then what? And what do you get? Now, that is great. That is a happy face. You found x. But is it a happy face for the answer? Because the answer says what? OY. We haven't done that. How do I find OY? It's going to be 6x minus 13, or 6 times 11 minus 13, or 66 minus 13, or 53. All right. Will the EOC have you stop at x? No. They will go back to go here. This is going to be a moderate level question because it's more than one step. Any questions? All right. On these notes, I literally should have done every type of homework question you are going to encounter. So if there is one you don't know how to do, what are you going to do? You're going to go back to the notes and figure out where's the one that's like it that I've done. All right? This is section 12.1. And what is the EOC you have to do? You have to do question 1 on 12.1 notes. I'm coming just a sec.